I seek refuge in God from Satan the rejected. Welcome to another Quran study. We will start from chapter 6, verse 123. In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. We allow the leading criminals of every community to plot and scheme, but they only plot and scheme against their own souls without perceiving. So, within every community, there are individuals who engage in criminal activities, and these people are given the freedom to plot and scheme, seemingly without any hindrance. But despite their efforts to scheme against others, are ultimately scheming against themselves, and they don't realize this actually, and they will see the consequences in both in this worldly life and in the hereafter. And God teaches us the importance of recognizing the nature of criminal behavior and the path it leads to. And He's encouraging us to strive for righteousness and to avoid these harmful actions that ultimately bring harm, that would ultimately bring harm upon ourselves. Questioning God's wisdom. When a powerful proof comes to them, they say, "We will not believe unless we are given what is given to God's messengers." God knows exactly who is best qualified to deliver his message. Such criminals will suffer debasement at God and terrible retribution as a consequence of their evil scheming. The footnote says, jealousy and ego are human traits that provoke some people to question God's wisdom in selecting his messengers. Corrupted Muslim scholars have uttered the same utterance regarding the revelation of the Quran's mathematical code through God's messenger of the covenant. So one of the things that the messenger of the covenant told us is that they were questioning him because he was not a cleric, like a cleric from Azhar University, right? They said, yeah, you are a biochemist, you don't have to do anything with religion, so why should we listen to you? But God knows, of course, the best, and He knows to choose. What's happening? Okay. So, and these people are putting a condition, right? And God doesn't accept this actually. You can't put a condition on your belief. You can't say, okay, I will only believe if you can do this or that, or will only believe if you show us this kind of a miracle, etc. And throughout the Quran, we can see the same examples actually. Like, for example, the followers of Jesus, they were also asking for something like that. And God actually warned them. He said, if I'm going to do this, but if anyone will disbelieve after that, then they will get a punishment. So it's very important that we don't put any conditions to our belief. When God sends a messenger, he most of the times he's also giving the miracles, right, to a messenger to prove that he is indeed a messenger of God, and that the message that comes from him is indeed from God. So we don't have any excuses, right, to say, God, okay, I didn't believe in him because he didn't provide me with proof. And God does that. He gives miracles to the messengers and the prophets that he's sending. And if you are truthful and if you are a righteous person, then you won't put conditions. You just, if that's the truth, right? You see the evidence, you see the miracles, and that's the truth. And the only thing that you need to do is you need to believe in it. But it's all about the ego, of course, that keeps people from believing. That's also what the messenger says. It's the ego. A truthful person would look at the evidence and based on that plan to deliver or not to believe. So if that person deserves it, then God will guide that person to the right path. It's also about your intentions. If you have good intentions, if you are a righteous person, and God knows that, then He will guide you to the right path, and He will make sure that you believe in the messengers that He has sent. Quranic knowledge for ahead of human progress. 125. Whomever God wills to guide, He renders his chest wide open to submission, and whomever He wills to send astray, He renders his chest intolerant and straitened, like one who climbs towards the sky. God thus places a curse upon those who refuse to believe. So God is the one who guides towards the path of submission and righteousness. And when God wills to guide someone, He widens their chest to embrace the faith, and surrender to his will. So this imaginary of a widened chest signifies openness and acceptance and ease in embracing the truth. God helps that person to accept the truth, right? Because God knows the innermost thoughts and He knows who deserves it. And God helps those when a message comes to them, God helps them into the right path. And when God wills to lead someone astray, He tightens their chests and narrows their understanding. So, metaphorically, portraying the construction and difficulties faced by those who turn away from the truth. And it is comparable to someone climbing towards the skies, where the higher they descend, the narrower the space becomes, ultimately leading to a restricted and claustrophobic state. And this also um, gives the example of another miracle of the Quran, that when you climb towards the sky, then you will have this feeling, right? That because there is less air, so you have this feeling, and God gives that example. But people at the time, they wouldn't really know this. Who would know that when you go very high up in the sky, that you will have that the it says like his chest intolerant and straightened when you go higher to the sky. And when God places a curse upon those who refuse to believe, it signifies the consequences of their own choices and actions. So God isn't the one who is misguiding them actually. He is misguiding them because they don't deserve to be guided. And God knows that. So it's their own fault actually. Because God does not lead people astray. He only responds to their own inclination towards disbelief and rejection, right? And God is sending the messengers, and He's sending miracles, and He wants them to believe. But we know throughout the Quran that how many messengers or how many miracles they will see, they will not believe. It's all mostly because of their egos. 126. This is the straight path to your Lord. We have explained the revelations for people who take heed. They have deserved the abode of peace at their Lord. He is their Lord and Master as a reward for their works. The day will come when He summons all of them and says, O you jinns, you have claimed multitudes of humans. Their human companions will say, Our Lord, we enjoyed each other's company until we wasted the lifespan you had set for us. He will say, Hell is your destiny. They abide therein forever, in accordance with God's will. Your Lord is wise, omniscient. On that day, the humans who had been led astray by the jinns, they will attest to their companionship and confessing that they enjoyed each other's company and influence. Um, so we learn from the message of the covenant that when a human being is born, there is a companion who will stay with that human being until his death. And the job of this companion is to whisper the ideas of the devil. And so he tells us that we need to try to convince actually our companion. And in any case, the companion, there's only actually one way. Or the companion is going to believe as we believe, or we are going to believe as them. So that's why we need to have this discussion with our companions, and we need to try them to convince about the truth that God has sent to us. And we learn from the message of the covenant that there is like this continuous discussion, right, between us and our companion, and this goes until one convinces the other. And God declares that their destiny is hell. They will be confined there forever, according to God's will. And it's also a warning about the consequences of allowing ourselves to be influenced by the companion. So if you and in any case, you can't say that it's not your fault. You can't say, yeah, but he convinced me. Like, you have your own, you are responsible for your own acts, and you will be held accountable for that. So that's why you need to use your own mind, and it all has to do, of course, with your righteousness, with the true of yourself. Like, if you are a truthful person, a righteous person, if you are a good person, then God will help you into that. and you will win. You will win this fight against your companion, and maybe he will also believe like you do, and he maybe can help you. The messenger says also that when he wanted to wake up for the dawn prayer, he said, or it's the companion that helped, or it were the angels that helped, right, when he was doing that. So if they become submitters too, then they probably will help you on your way. 129. We thus match the wicked to be companions of each other as a punishment for their transgression. So the wicked individuals who commit transgressions are paired together as companions. Um, like what I understand from this is that God knows, of course, what kind of a person you are, and uh, uh, and your companion, like what I understand from the message of the covenant, that because you become a submitter, most of the times your companion will be a submitter too, and he will help you by that, because you know, you are starting to become or you become a submitter, and then you have this submission test, and if you get through the test, then you know, there is, I don't know if there is a way for this companion to still keep telling the ways of the devil, if that will help or not. So probably he will become a submitter too, and we learn from the message of the covenant that we need to keep this discussion with our companions, and in the end we know it's the one or the other, or he is going to follow you, or you are going to follow the companion. 130. O you jinns and humans, did you not receive messengers from among you who narrated to you my revelations and warned you about the meeting on this day? They will say, we bear witness against ourselves. They were totally preoccupied with the worldly life, and they will bear witness against themselves that they were disbelievers. So jinns and humans, they received messengers who told them about God's teachings and warned them about the day of judgment. But because they were too busy with this worldly life, they are also admitting that they didn't believe in God. And we learn from the message of the covenant that everything that we do for this life is actually wasted. He says that one day we will lose everything that we love and find important, everything that has to do with this world. And there will come an end to everything. And we will be left only with what we have done to grow our soul. So this worldly life should not preoccupy our minds. Whatever we need to do, we need to put God first, and we need to use everything in our daily life to remember God. 131. This is to show this is to show that your Lord never annihilates any community unjustly while its people are unaware. So God never destroys or punishes any community unjustly while its people are unaware of what is happening. And God does not destroy a community unless they have been given clear signs, warnings, and opportunities to change their behavior. God is just and fair in his dealings, and he does not conflict punishment without giving people a chance to understand and rectify their actions. And God's justice ensures that no community will be destroyed without being aware of the reasons behind their punishment. So God is sending messengers, and he had sent prophets, right? And he gave them clear evidences, and he warned them actually. So one of the duties of a messenger is to warn the people about things that will happen if they don't follow God's teachings. And we can also see this with the message of the covenant, right? He has this video where he's telling and giving the people, also the leaders, the world leaders, he's giving them a warning of if you guys don't believe in this, retribution is waiting you. We also know in one have at the Muslims' perspective, if I'm not mistaken, where he says that the world leaders, especially in the Muslim worlds, it will change. like there will be it will be chaotic, and we can see that still today that it's changing. Like we know that Saddam is gone, Gaddafi is gone. In Syria there are problems today. In Palestine and Israel there are a lot of problems. So he warned the Islamic world that these things will happen. So it's not something like you need to consider lightly, right? You need to take this very seriously. um, 132. Everyone will attain a rank commensurate with their deeds. Your Lord is never unaware of anything they do. So everyone will attain a rank or status that is in line with their actions and deeds. Everyone will be rewarded or held accountable based on what they have done in their lives. And God is fully aware of everything that people do, and nothing escapes His knowledge. We know that in the Quran, when the things that we have done are presented to us, we will say this is like an amazing thing that it didn't forget like the smallest things, right? The things that we forgot, it's not forgotten, it's there. And we learn from the message of the covenant that it's like a video image, right? That we can see everything there, what happened for even the smallest things that we have done. So it's like recording. Everything is being recorded, and on the day of judgment, we will see what we did, and what happened, and people will are going to be amazed of the recording. 133. Your Lord is the rich one, possessor of all mercy. If He wills, He can remove you and substitute whomever He wills in your place, just as He produced you from the progeny of other people. So this serves as a reminder of our ultimate dependence of God. We are dependent on God, and God is not dependent on us, right? And it teaches humility and acknowledging that our position, wealth, and abilities are ultimately in His control. He's the one who's controlling everything. We're not, and we should be grateful for the blessings we have, and everything that God has given us. We need to be thankful towards Him, and not forget that we really depend on God actually. And God says that if He wants, He can change, right? He can place other people if He wants that. It's very easy for Him to do. 134. What is promised to you will come to pass, and you can never evade it. Say, O my people, do your best, and so will I. You will surely find out who the ultimate victors are. Certainly, the wicked will never succeed. They even set aside a share of God's provisions of crops and livestock, saying, this share belongs to God, according to their claims, and this share belongs to our idols. However, what was set aside for their idols never reached God, while the share they set aside for God invariably went to their idols. Miserable indeed is their judgment. So God tells the believers to worship God alone and not to set partners and no intermediaries like alongside Him in our devotion. And it emphasizes the significance of certainty and exclusive worship to one and only true God. And by doing so, we can avoid the miserable consequences in this journey that we have. Um, uh, these people who are idol worshippers, in this verse, we can see that like this share belongs to God, they say. They believe in God. Like to be able to, if you want to be an idol worshipper, you need to believe in God, right? They are believing in God, but they are setting idols besides God. Um, it's the same with the people of today, the so-called Muslims or even the Christians. They believe in God, but they have their idols, and they believe in, like they say that they believe, of course, but they truly don't believe in it. That they believe in what God has sent, but also follow the other teachings that is not from God. 137. Thus were the idol worshippers duped by their idols to the extent of killing their own children. In fact, their idols inflict great pain upon them and confuse their religion for them. Had God willed, they would not have done it. You shall disregard them and their fabrications. So we learn from God that when God sends a scripture or a message, this message will guide you, right? It will guide you. The intention is to guide you to the right path. But we can clearly see that the path that these people follow, they follow their idols and the things that are made up by people. Um, and we see here that they go to the extent of killing their own children. If I'm not mistaken, this has to do with the Arab people who were killing when it's like a daughter, when they have girls are born, then they will put them alive, bury them alive. I'm sorry, that could be one thing. And they are doing this basically because they think that it's like when you have a daughter, it's like humiliating for you. And the reason why they are doing is they are not guided. And God is sending the messenger. He has sent Muhammad to guide these people, and most of them actually didn't believe in it. They really didn't understand the message of the Quran, and it's very dangerous, right? Killing your own children. Like, why would someone kill his own children? But we can see that people are the human beings. The people are incapable of doing that when they are not guided. And in the footnotes, we see a perfect example is the internationally infamous incident of the execution of a Saudi Arabian princess in 1978 for alleged adultery. God's law institutes whipping, not execution, as a punishment for adultery. 24, chapter 24, 1 and 2. While the adulterous laws stipulate execution. As pointed out in chapter 42, verse 21, the traditionalists follow a religion that is not authorized by God. So here, this is also an example of how far people can go, right? When they don't follow the right guidance that God has sent. I remember watching a video this was a video about someone who was stoned to death in Afghanistan. So because the reason was they did some adultery, right? But that's not the punishment. We learn from the Quran, of course, that punishment for adultery is whipping and definitely not execution. But you can see how dangerous it can be, right? When you have a country and if the people of that country are convinced that they need like Sharia law, and basically Sharia law that is made up by people that you can find in the Hadith books or the teachings of these clergymen, it can be very dangerous and very dangerous to live in such a society. I remember also a friend of mine who went to Saudi Arabia, and I asked him about what kind of a place it was and what were the things that he saw there. And one of the things he said to me, he said, "You can see a lot of people without hands, like their hands were cut." Probably because they stole something, and what they did is they cut the hands of those people, and what became of those people? They became beggars because their hands are cut. No one would accept them and give them work, right? Because they wouldn't trust them. They would directly see, okay, your hands are cut, or your hand is cut, so you probably are a thief, or you're a thief. So I wouldn't. No one would want to hire them. So we can see here clearly that this is really wrong what they're doing, and there are consequences for the ones who are committing these things. Like, they don't deserve it actually. Okay, he is a thief, but this is not what he deserved, cutting his hands. You can see that it will stay with him until his death, right? Everyone can see that his hand is cut. And what would we do actually with people who, like, if someone has cancer and the doctor says we need to cut your hand, and he's living in such a society, like when he's in the streets, people would think that he's a thief, right? Then how is he going to explain that? Okay, like, you can explain to people who are around you and they would know, but when you're outside and people are looking at you, then you can't explain yourself to everyone. When you go to a restaurant, how are you going to? Are you going to put a sign on your T-shirt saying, "Oh, my hand, I don't have my hand because I had cancer, or I have cancer." So that's why it's very important that we should follow only the teachings of God and only His guidance. Um, they even, so 136, they even set aside a share of God's provisions of crops and livestock, saying this share belongs to God, according to their claims and their share. Okay, this is what I had read. 137. Thus, where the idol worshippers duped their idols to the extent of this one, I saw. I read. Okay, let me go down. Religious innovations condemned. 138. They said, these are livestock and crops that are prohibited. No one shall eat them except whomever we permit, so they claimed. They also prohibited the riding of certain livestock. Even the livestock they ate. They never pronounced God's name as they sacrificed them. Such are innovations attributed to Him. He will surely requite them for their innovations. Yeah, so here we can see again, they are permitting things. They are saying that that's prohibited, while God didn't prohibit it. And God tells us that they even don't pronounce God's name when they sacrifice it. And they decide who can eat it or not. So this is also like this is called idolatry, because your God is the one whom you follow, right? If you follow the laws of God, then God is your God. But if you follow laws of someone else, then they will be your God, and you will see the consequences in this life, right? You can't, like, there is some food you want to eat, but you can't. You want to ride some horses, but they don't allow you. They prohibited it. And if you follow them, then like, God created all these things for us, right? So we can use them in our life. They also said, what is in the bellies of these livestock is reserved exclusively for the males among us and prohibited for our wives. But if it was a stillbirth, they permitted their wives to share the reign. He will certainly requite them for their innovations. He is most wise, omniscient. So, like, they are really going to the extent of it, right? They put these rules. Even there is this gender thing, right? Like, the males can eat it, but the wives, they can't. Um, like, you can see that the males, they are in power, right? And they use this power. This is also something, of course. Definitely, today, for example, in Saudi Arabia, you have, of course, the Islamic Sharia, which is in the Quran, but you have also this Sharia that's made up by these people. Like, for example, a woman, they couldn't drive, right, in Saudi Arabia. I don't know if they still can't, but I remember that they couldn't drive in Saudi Arabia. There are some restrictions that are given to women, and things special made for men, right? They have this innovations, and then you can see that the males, they have this profit out of it, right? They can enjoy a lot of things, but when it comes to women, they can't. So introducing new practices or restrictions without a valid basis in the Quran, based in the Quran, is not in accordance with God's guidance. Such arbitrary distinctions based on gender, definitely not supported by the Quran, and should not be imposed in matters of consumption. Failing to mention God's name during the act of sacrifice goes against the established practices taught in the Quran. God says, "Do not eat from that which where God's name is not mentioned." So that's definitely prohibited. But they do, and then they make up these things, like they make up all these innovations. 140. Losers indeed are those who kill their children foolishly due to their lack of knowledge and prohibited what God has provided for them and followed innovations attributed to God. They have gone astray, they are not guided. So it's very important to be guided by God, right? Because if you are not, then like, who is the one that is going to put rules, right? If there is a society, you have people living in a society. Let's say there is a city, and who is the one who is going to put all these rules if it's not God? And when it's not God, when it's people, then we can see what kind of decisions they make, right? They are looking at, okay, if the men are powerful, if they are stronger than the females, so they make such laws that they enjoy while the woman can't. So it's very important for people to follow God's guidance and follow God's rules. Hopefully, that will happen soon in the world, so we can see a community where everyone is following God's guidance and God's laws. And if you don't follow God's laws and guidance, then you will have a world like what we have right now: wars everywhere, people killing each other, people divided. Like a lot of bad things are happening in the world now. We can't say that the world is peaceful. Definitely not. For a long time, the world is not peaceful. Hopefully, it will come a day, but at the moment, it isn't. And the reason is because the messenger tells us this, right? People are following the devil. People are following Satan. They are not following God's guidance. And we can also see here that Satan, um, uh, he can't, like, he's proving that he can't be a god, because we have learned from the messenger that the devil, he wants actually a peaceful world. He wants that everyone is rich and there are no diseases, etc. But we can clearly see that he is not doing a good job. And the reason is because he isn't God. He can't do that. God is the only one who in his kingdom doesn't have bad things, right? In God's kingdom, there is no pain, there is no wars, there is no misery. Everything is perfect. You have perfect health, perfect wealth. Um, Everything's perfect in God's kingdom. This should actually also be a good example for people who are trying to find the guidance. Maybe if they came across this idea of that this world is Satan's kingdom, and you can obtain perfect health and perfect wealth in God's kingdom as well. And if we look at what's going on today in the world, we can clearly see that it's very bad, right? Who wants to live in a world where you have wars and misery and everything is bad, children being killed? It's a very, very bad world. 141. He is the one who established gardens, trellised and untrellised, and palm trees and crops with different tastes, and olives and pomegranates, fruits that are similar yet dissimilar. Eat from their fruits and give the due alms on the day of harvest, and do not waste anything. He does not love the wasters. And the footnote says zakat, charity, is so important. The most merciful has restricted his mercy to those who give it. Chapter 7, verse 158. Yet the corrupted Muslims have lost this most important commandment. They give zakat only once a year. We see here that zakat must be given away on the day we receive income. The proper on that came to us through Abraham. The proper Okay, the proper on that came to us through Abraham is 2.5% of our net income. So if you work and you have a loan, you know when you will get your loan. In the end of the month, for example, you need to be prepared for that. When you get your loan, the same day you need to give it. You need to give your zakat, 2.5%. For example, if you earn $4,000, you need to give at least $100 to the ones who are in need, right? Whom you know that they are in need. And we learn from the Quran that there is the first ones you need to give. If they are in need, they are your parents, then your brother, sister, your uncles, your people who are like close to you, right? And then you have the list to whom you need to give it. And then you need to do accordingly. You need to do like God has told you. If like your parents need money, you can just give your obligatory charity to someone in Africa because they are in need as well. Of course, you need to give sadaqah, like to them as well. We need to help them. But if people around you are in need, you need to help them first. It starts there, and this is a rule that it's God's rule. We need to follow it. You can't say, yeah, but I know I have a brother or a sister who needs money, but I want to send it to someone in Africa, someone very poor in Africa. You can't do that. By doing that, you actually don't follow the guidance of God. And then you will see the consequences of that one as well. And here God tells us that like God gives the example and names of the fruits that he has created, right? And there is a reason for that. We need to be grateful for it. Like God created a lot of good things for us, so we can eat from that. And God says that he doesn't love the waster, so we shouldn't definitely waste the things that God has given us. 124. Some livestock supply you with transportation as well as bedding materials. Eat from God's provisions to you and do not follow the steps of Satan. He is your most ardent enemy. So Satan is described as our most ardent enemy, always trying to lead us astray from the right path. And we are reminded to resist his temptations and stay away from evil actions and thoughts that he may try, to inflict on us. And God tells us, right? He says that go to earth as enemies with each other. We know, of course, from the Quran that God also told Adam and Eve that Satan is the enemy, that they shouldn't listen to him. So we always need to remind ourselves about that. Don't forget that Satan is the enemy, and we should always try to follow the guidance of God. I will stop here, God willing. If there are any questions or anything, brothers and sisters want to go ahead.
Mashallah, brother. Thank you. Yeah, I want to say that you said that if your mother or someone needs money, you can send your zakat to Africa. But I want to say you can, because what if your mother lives in Africa? Then you have to send it to Africa, you know?
Okay. Yeah, that's possible. Yeah, there was this verse about the jinns, right? We had this yesterday, the discussion about the companions, the jinn companions, and if they know what is going, what we think. Do they know what we think? If you don't say anything, right? You just think of something, because we know that the message of the covenant said that Satan, he doesn't know the things that we think, that is in our minds. Does that count for the companions as well? And we read something yesterday about the jinns, where the messenger of the covenant says the jinn companions, and then somewhere else he says they become jinns only after the human body dies. Then they are released from the body, and then they become jinns.
Hmm. Yeah, so the thing is that your jinn companions stay with you, right? And the messenger talks about how a constant argument happens between you and your jinn. So you can't have an argument with someone who cannot read your argument, right? I mean, it's like they don't have your jinn companions. They don't have the ability to deep into like dig into your thoughts and stuff, like deep into your subconscious. But there is a channel of communication. They can talk to each other, you know. But the thing is, it's different for Satan, because I mean, Satan's not the same, right? Satan, we're talking about Lucifer. So Satan's another entity completely, but we're talking about the jinn companion being the descendant of Satan, right? But he's still a jinn companion. He's with you, he's your companion. He's with you. Once he's freed, he's freed, but he's still a jinn. But the thing is, the important thing here is that they talk to each other, right? The jinn wants to convince you of something, and then you try to convince him back. Now, how will you convince him back if he can't, talk to you without you saying it out loud?
Yeah. So, and
So we're
one of the other
yeah.
things is, if you talk to them, and if they would know what you're saying, can
Mm.
they go and give this information to the devil? Like, do they communicate with the devil as well while they are in your body? Can they also travel while they're in your body, or are they really
No,
stuck?
they're with you, like just like what you are. You know, your soul that lives in the body. You know, so
So they can
it's
only
not like it's
travel after you die, right? When your
yeah.
body.
Once you die, then they're free. Then they can talk to each other and live in their world. You know, see things that we don't see and all that.
So, if I understand correctly, you can have a discussion in by yourself, like talking to your jinn companion. It doesn't mean that you need to talk like we are talking right now with each other. Like, you can do that within your head, let's say.
Yeah.
When you are doing that, then you can communicate with them. They will, like, they talking to you, and you hear them, and they will hear
Not them,
you.
like one person. There's one jinn, right?
Yes. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I mean, he or she.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
So, and then you have your own thoughts. That's a moment when you are thinking of something, but you are not communicating with the companion. That part they wouldn't understand. That they wouldn't hear you, right?
I think they whatever you're thinking, they're with you, right? So whatever, like when you talk to them, it's not like okay, now I just want to think, and now I want to talk to my companions. Like it's not like an on-off switch kind of a thing, right? It's like okay, there are thoughts in your brain that are flowing. You know, oh, what is that? Sorry, I attended a phone call outside. So I accidentally called my watch. So I was saying that it's like it's not like there is like a channel you consciously turn it on or off, right? It's like whatever thoughts are flowing in your head, your jinn is also there, so he can also hear those thoughts.
But can they communicate that with the devil? Are
They
they in
can't
communication?
communicate with other people. They can just communicate with you.
But I mean, with the devil.
No, they can just communicate with you.
Ah, okay. And when your body is dead,
When
and
they leave, then they can talk to other jinns. Yeah, it's not like my
ah,
jinn can talk to your jinn, you know, at night or something.
okay. Because if it could, then would, like, the devil would use that and ask,
Yeah,
tell me his
my jinn can.
thoughts.
It's not like my jinn can come and tell all my secrets to your jinn, and then your jinn can go and tell it to Masood or something like that. You know.
And what about you remember the thing that the messenger was explaining and telling that there was this jinn of a guy who was dead and who came to the body of his wife, and she was talking like him, and then the messenger says, yeah, they should ask him what he really is. Are you the jinn of that person? And he says most of the times they tell the truth, because people thought it was like the soul of that guy, the dead guy. His soul went into the body of his wife.
Mhm. Yeah, so I mean, people who use like sorcery and stuff, they can talk to the free jinns, right? But they can't talk to your jinn, for example, right? Your jinn is isolated in your body, but there are free jinns that have left in your body. So their people are able to communicate with those jinns. You know, people are able to communicate. Like for example, God gave Solomon, you know, access to all the jinns, right? There were devils even that were not jinns that were not even like submitters. He had access to them. He could talk to them just like he could talk to the birds and everyone else, right? So you can communicate with these jinns. Obviously, you know, God doesn't want us to do that as submitters, but uh, but that's for those jinns, right? There's no way for me to come and talk to you, start talking to your jinn, you know, while you're being unaware of it or anything, you know, like that. Yeah.
Yeah, there was also this other question I wanted to ask. It was about um, mm, this companion thing. We thus match the wicked to be companions of each other as a punishment for their transgressions. It's chapter 6, verse 129. So, should we understand this as God knows, of course, who is wicked, like the wicked human people and the wicked jinns, and he makes companions of those. Like when you have a wicked person, that wicked person has a wicked jinn companion. Do we need to understand it as that?
Sorry, Jafar, I got sidetracked because what happened is I'm getting a notification that this call is a free
Within.
call in 10 minutes.
Okay, I
So,
had
Yeah,
that too.
same here.
yeah, so I'm not sure what we should do if this ends. Maybe we'll start another one. Because, yeah, otherwise,
I think, brother, we can like go back, go outside, and then come back in. If not, you can share another link here. We could use that one. I think that's the way it works.
yeah, we should, ooh, we could, no, I mean, this one will end. So even if we go back and come in again, this will still be ending, right?
So the best thing would be to share a new one. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So should I do that? Hold on.
Sure, sure. Yeah,
But
go ahead.
isn't it best to do that after like 10 minutes, not right now?
Yeah,
Because we
yeah,
still have 10 minutes to use
we
that.
still, we still have 8 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, so 8 minutes. Do that face. Okay, so create a meeting for later. Okay, so I created for 11 a.m. Well, I guess it doesn't ask for time, but I'll just post a link here. Once we get disconnected, we can go to that one. I guess.
Okay.
Oh, sorry about that. Um, well, I'll just post it here. Just you can just save it somewhere. I posted it in the chat. I posted it on this link also. And of course, so people have their companions are devils, right? But the good submitters, who are able to, who are destined to go to heaven and who are destined to convince their jinns, uh, God doesn't give them this kind of those kind of people, right? Like really evil people are matched with really evil jinns, right? But the good submitters have jinns that end up becoming submitters, and so God, having this divine knowledge about every person, and He assigns the souls to the bodies and the jinns to the bodies accordingly, right? So for the wicked people, God really gives them the wicked jinns that are devils. For the human devils, they have jinn devils as their companions. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, like the Messenger of the Covenant says also that when you have a submitter, most of the times the children of the submitter they become also submitters. Like I remember him saying something. Like probably it's like the same thing, right? Because God knows, of course, your innermost thoughts, and He knows what you deserve. He aligns you with the same thing, like most of the times, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And so probably the same counts also for your companion, because you are probably a good submitter and you deserve to go to heaven, and God knows this. He assigns a good jinn maybe, or a jinn who will become a submitter as well to that person.
Right.
Yeah, and then when he becomes a submitter, this jinn, instead of telling the things, the satanic things, let's say, he tries to help you, right? He tries to help you with your salat and that kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, mashallah, you also read about the dietary uh, stuff, people who abuse God's provisions making, by prohibiting things, right? And recently, I've been listening to this one Quran study where the Messenger of the Covenant was also talking about the same subject as I was preparing for my sermon recently. And, he talks about how these idol worshippers who end up abusing God's provision. I mean, like you said, if you prohibit something that God didn't prohibit, uh, that becomes idol worship. So that is significant because you're also attributing life to God, and you're listening to other gods besides God that are telling you to prohibit things, and then also other people listening to such people will be making these people their idols as well. So it's idol worship across the board, and that's why all religious innovations are condemned, and all religious innovations are satanic. And we see that also one thing in verse 138, that these people, they set aside shares of livestock and crops to their idols. So there is such a thing as setting aside things for idols, but that's not. But you can't. You can only dedicate animals to other than God, right? So it says, and only you pronounce, um, God's name on animals when you sacrifice them, right? You don't sacrifice like rice or any plants or fruit when you cut them. Like, you don't have to pronounce God's name on it to cut it. You have to do it when you eat it, but not when you cut it. But for animals, when you're taking their life and sending them back to God, you're supposed to do that. Then that's the difference between setting something aside for an idol versus dedicating it to other than God. So livestock, while it's alive, and crops also at any time can be set aside for idols, but that doesn't make them prohibited. But what makes something prohibited is when it's dedicated to other than God, and you can only do that with things that are not plants or crops. It
Like
has to
not
be
with
things that,
rice, for example.
yeah, yeah.
I
So
remember
that
we spoke about this subject before also, right?
yeah, yeah, of course. And then also, it talks about how the idol worshippers were duped, and idol worshippers who killed their children due to lack of knowledge. And so we see that, this also applies to circumcision. People who inflict, it says, in fact, verse 137 says, in fact, the idols inflict great pain upon them. They were idol worshippers. Thus were the idol worshippers. Sorry, I'm going to start again. Thus were the idol worshippers duped by their idols to the extent of killing their own children. So obviously, we have this footnote about the infamous killing of the Saudi Arabian princess, right? But many people also kill their children, when they circumcise them, right? And they end up dying. And I mean, you can see a lot of times, they don't count that as a result of circumcision when babies die, but a lot of babies will die from complications following that, and so if you see the amount of deaths of babies, a lot of babies that are youngborns that are dying, they're dying. A lot of them are dying. I think the majority of them are dying because of complications that arise after. Um, either it's the blood doesn't stop. The excessive bleeding. You only need a little bit of bleeding for a baby, to
Brother,
lose their
yeah,
life.
brother, the session is going to end now.
And okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay. So I think that also applies to circumcision and how people inflict great pain upon their great pain due to their idols upon their children to the extent of killing them. Uh, and people who kill their children foolishly due to lack of knowledge. Also, praise God for giving us the right information.
So we know that killing an innocent person is an unforgivable sin, right? And if someone does circumcision.
Killing a believer is an unforgivable offense.
Oh, okay. What was the deal with killing an innocent person?
It's wrong, but the verse is about killing a believer on purpose.
Oh, okay. Killing a believer on purpose. Oh, okay. So because when you do circumcision and your child dies, actually, because you did the circumcision and because of that, you actually killed your own child.
Yeah, you killed your own child, but you committed idol worship. But it's still kind of like an accident. It's not on purpose.
Maybe it's like the punishment because of your idol worship.
Well, losing your child is a big punishment.
Yeah.
I mean, the sorrow for losing a child obviously is not comparable to anything. For at least I know for the mother, it's horrible. Also for the father too. I mean, but it's more complicated for the woman.
So, mashallah, while we are in this topic, I actually wanted to mention that in the later audios that we received, by the messenger, audio 76, minute 43, he actually had this like a short talk on killing a believer. And it's a very vague, it's not very clear, but you can still, if you listen to it a couple of times, inshallah, you will hear that he says that a person who is actually God is mentioning in that verse, actually referring to a hypocrite who thinks is a believer but actually kills another believer. So he actually says that. Inshallah, if you listen to audio 76, minute 43, that's what I got. Mashallah.
Mashallah. Yeah, I mean, obviously, God would not allow a sincere person to do something like that. I mean, you'd have to be really evil to do something like that.
I had another question about 124. Like it says, like when a powerful proof comes to them, they say, "We will not believe unless we are given what is given to God's messengers." And on the footnotes, it says, "Jealousy and ego are human traits that provoke some people to question God's wisdom in selecting his messengers. Corrupted Muslim scholars have uttered this same utterance regarding the revelations of the Quran's mathematical code through God's messenger of the covenant." So, should we understand this as that those people, the messenger of the covenant, he came with this, and what were they expecting? Were they expecting a similar kind of a miracle that is being revealed to them, that they would see uh, the same thing in the Quran, or something that is not revealed yet?
Well, I mean, they wanted to be messengers themselves, right? They're like, why did God choose this person instead of me, for example, right? I, I'm better than him, or what's special about him that I don't have? Like,
Yeah, yeah. That part I understand, but they are saying unless we are given what is given to God's messengers, we will
yeah,
not believe.
they're messengers. If you're given what is given to God's messengers, that means you're a messenger, right? So they want to be messengers. They're like,
Oh,
why?
so they're saying we will only believe if we ourselves become messengers.
Exactly.
Wow.
If we are inspired directly by God, and God chose, like if God chose that person as a messenger, then they would believe, for example, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, because I'm
M-
so special. Why am I not a messenger?
like meaning, if this is what you're telling true, then I will believe only in your truth if it's inspired to me too.
No, I mean it's a. I know that's what it sounds like,
Yeah.
but that's not what it's really. It's not how it's implying. To me, the way I see it is it's just saying that I will not believe unless I'm a messenger. Like I'm not a messenger. Why am I not a messenger? If it was given to me as a messenger, then I would believe. You know. Yeah. So I see.
Almost like they were chosen.
Yeah. Yeah. Like why him? Basically, not why not me?
Like they studied at the Azhar University and they read all of
Hmm.
these books. They remembered all these hadith books out of their head, right?
Yeah.
So while I am such a great person, like, and he is not because he's just a biochemist and he is not from Al Azhar,
And he's not an Arab.
and he's not from Arab as well. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, like even the innovations they made about the Mahdi, like when they're
Hmm.
speaking about it, oh, Mahdi will be the late son, like the grandchild of the Prophet. He will be an Arab, still it's an Arab, and it comes
Hmm.
from family of Muhammad, right?
Hmm.
I think it's
Yeah,
a
and
very important
the
thing
Arabs
with
have
Arabs.
a way of looking down upon these other people that speak Arabic. Egypt, Tunisia, all these other countries where they speak Arabic. So they're kind of racist also in that sense. Sorry, what was that you said? I missed it.
Um, but you mean the Arabs being like egoistic and
Yeah, racist.
racist as well? Yeah. Hmm.
Super racist.
They are very into that, right? Very into that. They are,
Mhm.
so,
Yeah.
and very special if you are like if your roots are coming from Muhammad, right?
Of course.
Then you're much more. I don't know if
And by
the
the way, they do let them drive now in Saudi Arabia.
oh, you're right. The woman they can drive, right?
Yeah, now very
Nah,
recent.
yeah, they changed a lot of
They
things.
can drive now. Yeah, they have nightclubs and everything now. Apparently.
Mm. Yeah, before they would go to Dubai, right? The Arabs.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So now
to-
they're trying to, basically because they are greedy and they want investment and attract foreign investment because they know that they feel that they need to diversify and expand their economy, and the fuel is not, oil is not enough, so
mm.
they want more and more investment. And even for oil too, like if they want more investment, they have to attract people to invest in. Obviously they wouldn't want to invest in a country that's so backwards. So they have, adopted these new
Yeah,
policies.
they're also building the buildings, right? Like for example, the line,
Yeah.
the
Hmm.
cube, that kind of stuff. But I remember you saying something about, it's they are building all these things, but
Hmm.
eventually they are going to lose it. So it's meant for
Yeah.
people coming after them, like this
Yeah.
nice buildings that they are going to build.
Hmm. Yeah, as the messenger of the covenant describes that as the beginning of the end. All right. Are any someone has an off-topic question? Who's Og?
I'm Abdullah.
Oh,
Oh, okay, Abdullah. Okay,
Augustus Abdullah Constantinus.
okay.
Is that Augustus? Yeah, the obligatory zakat, like it is at least 2.5. It starts with 2.5. I remember Messenger saying you need to give at least 2.5. If you can give more, if you want to give more, your soul will benefit from that. But it's not 2.5. Like if you have 4,000. If you earn 4,000, you need to give 100. It doesn't mean you can't give more. It's at least 2.5, right?
Mm-hmm. Because 2.5% is the obligatory, right? That you have to give. Now, if you want to give more charity on top of that, you can give any amount you want. But obligatory means what's mandatory, right? So mandatory is what is a must is the 2.5, and whatever else you want to give on top of it is it's up to you. But you can't say that that's obligatory, right? Because only obligatory is only 2.5.
Assalamualaikum. While we are on the topic of zakat, did I just hear that you mentioned we should pay zakat on the loan as well?
Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna ask that.
What again?
I thought I heard it, and I was gonna ask for a clarification. You don't have to pay zakat on a loan.
No, oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was
Like,
thinking as well.
okay, I understand where the misunderstanding comes from. It has to do with Dutch, actually. Like, what do you call the thing that you're being paid if you work for a company in the end of the month?
Salary?
Yes, salary.
Salary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so in Dutch we have, like in Dutch we mostly use, we also use salary, the word salary, but most of the times we use the word loan. It's like almost identical, but loan in English, of course, means something else. So I meant actually salary, not loan, but
Oh, that's
salary.
funny.
Yeah, yeah. Like it should be your net income, right? You need to pay from your
Oh,
net income. And if you're on a salary, eventually, on the end of the month, when you get paid, you need to give the obligatory charity zakat the same day. And if it's like, if it's not worth given, for example, if you don't earn that much, then the message of the covenant says that you can keep the money for like maximum 1 month, and you can add up everything and then give within that month your zakat.
yeah, but actually, in other places, he's saying give in advance.
Yeah.
He
Or in
says,
advance,
I
yeah.
don't want to give. Yeah, he says I don't want to give you anyone a reason to withhold their zakat, basically, for any amount of time.
Yeah, so but when
So
you have an income, it's like not everyone has an income every month, right? For example, someone gets money every 2 days or every day
right.
maybe, and if you earn, like, if you get $100 or $40, for example, for that day, like it's not a lot of money. So
Yeah, so
um,
that's why you can give in advance.
or like you can give in advance, you can give like let's say in the end
Yeah,
it
if
will
you
be
get
$100. You have
yeah
40 within 3 days or 4 days. You pay this $100, and then you wait until you get the other payments
yeah. So you pay the charity in advance. Let's say
first.
let's say
Yeah.
I only get $100 a day, but I can pay 1,000 charity on 1,000, and I can do the same after another couple of days when I have made more than that, right?
Ah, okay. So I always thought like you, because it's like not a lot of money, so you add up the money, and then when it's like a good amount, for
Yeah,
example,
no,
50 or 100.
he doesn't encourage that.
Ah,
He
so the other
says
ways
I
around.
don't. Yeah,
But what if the person needs the money? Like when someone earns not a lot of money, probably they also need that money.
it's the charity. Obligatory charity is only 2.5%. Anybody can do it.
Yeah, but if you give in advance, for example, you
Yeah,
earn.
and let's say you make $1,000. So if you want to do a 10% even, let's say for example, $100. It's I mean, obviously it depends on your circumstances, right? I mean, you don't have to give in advance, but if you need it, you don't have to pay like, but you're only paying in advance because it's not much.
Yeah,
I mean,
1,000 is a good amount. Yeah.
your question is going in different directions.
No, but I meant actually like very low income, When you have very low income, and if you need to give 2.5% of that already very low income, then sometimes it's like, you are like a few dollars maybe, and then the best is to
So
wait.
you just give $20 then, if you really want to, but nobody's pushing you to give in advance. I mean, you can just give $1 to
But you need to follow. You need to like you need to start with your parents, right?
Yeah, so don't give in advance.
Like €1 today, and then maybe one
No, I
more.
mean it's the same thing. You can give in advance, or you can
Mm, yeah.
save it for later. I mean, it doesn't matter. So the
Mm-hmm.
thing is, the good thing is that obviously the 2.5% obligatory charity is such a small amount that God knows that people will be able to, and God will make your circumstances as such that you will not come into a situation where you don't know if basically. I mean, nobody wants to encourage anyone to withhold a charity. It's better to give in advance than to give it later, right? I mean, that's the whole idea. So just look at your circumstances and, you know, just based on the information that the messenger has
Mm-hmm.
explanation that the messenger has given. I mean, I'd say just, do your best.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it becomes more difficult when you have a very high net income. If it's very, very high, that's also possible, right? People, when they earn more money, they become more stingy.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's also part of the test.
And
Yeah, but
for
also God doesn't want the poor people to wait, right? Like for example, in the traditional Muslims, they wait 1 year or something. Yeah, sorry, Shima, go ahead.
Yeah, no problem, brother. And also for someone whose salary is so low, and the best way they can is just 2.5, and it's not much. Regardless of how low their salary is, like believe me, and we know from the verses of the Quran that's their best chance, and that's they have God's promise that it will be multiplied for them, and they will get into situations that they will get like way more than what they are giving for that 2.5%. I say based on personal experience, God, never breaks his promise. And they should not worry because, if you don't give the zakat charity, then other circumstances might happen that you have to pay even more, I don't know, for an accident or something, because Satan can easily claim people. So inshallah, we should try to make that charity and be charitable so that, it multiplies, inshallah.
Hmm. Actually, I was also referring to, because you guys remember the thing where the messenger of the covenant says, like maximum a month, max month, don't go over the month.
1 month, right?
Yeah, 1 month. He says something like that, right? So that's why I understood. Of course, when you can give in advance, he says it's the best is to give in advance, right? But someone asked the question to him, like when it's very low, then I believe he says you can sum up everything and then don't make it longer than 1 month. There was something like that. That's why
Yeah,
I
but
was.
if you look at the other audio, he's strongly discouraging that. He's saying, I don't want anybody to withhold, so pay in
Mm-hmm.
advance. Mm-hmm.
So give in advance is fine, uh, but the text is saying give on the day of harvest.
Mm-hmm.
So on the day of harvest, say for instance, the individual gets paid your paycheck on Friday, but they give is it like they have extra money in their account left over from like extra money for zakat charity that's just left in their account that they like stack up or just let sit. They can okay, I think I got a little confused with advance, and then with like what the Quran says on the day of harvest. That's where I got a little confused at. Did the messenger of the covenant say giving in advance is fine?
Yeah, giving advance is fine in the sense that if you are paid very little, you know, and it's not enough money to want to give to someone. Let's say you want to give it to your parents, and your charity is only, let's say, $20. I mean, so what are you gonna do? You can just pay $100 just in advance for whatever you're gonna get in the next few weeks or whatever, and just so that it's enough money to help them. You know, um, it's just a meaningful amount.
Can we understand also as, for example, you need to give the charity on that day, right? That's what God commands you to do. But it is possible that you can forget that. And instead of not giving that day and giving it later, that means that you are not doing, like you are not following the commandment that God says, right? the messenger tells us to give in advance so you don't make that mistake, like to
Exactly.
to
Yeah.
play safe, let's say.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't take risks. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, also, not only that you're gonna forget, but obviously then you're not, if you're not giving it on that day and you're waiting, then you're not, like you said, you're not following that commandment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah, so either give it on that day or try to give it in advance.
Or plan,
Don't
right? You need to
wait.
plan it
Yeah.
before.
Yeah. Yeah, don't wait.
Mm.
You know, a lot of times it can happen. For example, let's say, you're just making enough for yourself or whatever, and then, someone comes along who needs money, and then you don't have too much to spare, but, you're like, okay, well, I have this much income coming every month, let's say, and I can just give, let's say someone needs $300, and my charity is only $100, but I'll just pay another 2 months in advance so that this counts as my obligatory charity
Hmm.
for the other two,
Yeah.
let's say.
And then God will give you more and more money, and then you can the next month, even if you don't have to give, you can give more. So, uh, yeah, actually, you
Kind of question. Go ahead, bro.
brother.
Sorry, John, I think you have a very bad connection. Inshallah, he's gonna move next month, so you're not gonna have this. Well, if you're working, you can type your comment, John.
John.
I can hear you.
Yeah, we can't hear you at all. It's very hard to hear
Do you
anything.
see his picture? He's like, uh, he's on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's this verse where the God says, right, if you give for charity, you give because God, you want, yeah, right, you want favor of God. He gives at least twice back, right? If you give one, he promises to give you at least the double. And it's a promise of God, and we know that He will definitely keep His promise.
SubhanAllah, I mean, God is the best provider. I mean, you should trust God wholeheartedly and just give, knowing that He is the provider. So if there was another provider and you were giving your charity because of God, I mean, then you have a reason to worry about money
Mm-hmm.
when you're giving your charity.
There was this.
But obviously, the main idea is we're giving our charity because we believe in the hereafter, and we're giving it so because God says so, and for our, we're obeying God, and we're obviously not doing it to get richer in this world, but obviously it's God's promise that He will take care of all our needs.
But it is a promise of God, But
Yeah,
like,
God
of course,
promises
we need
that.
to do that because He commands us to do it, and
God,
definitely knowing that He promises that is
if you're
also.
giving 2.5% of your charity to zakat, I mean, you're definitely gonna get more than double of that anyways, right? So
Yeah.
next month, so
But maybe you can calculate, right? If I give 100 now, I'll get 200 back. Double the amount of money. Like, you can also see, like, in any case, like, business wise, there is in this world not a business where you get the double, at least the double back. Nothing. There is not. So you can see how God encourages, like, to give.
mhm.
And there was this guy. It was a good example. I don't know if it is, but he says if you have $100 in your pocket, you give 50 as a charity. How many are left? You say at least 150 is left instead of 50, because God gives you like the double back. So you don't lose the money. Actually, you will have more.
on the process when dealing with taxes. So, when you gross, but the taxes has to come out.
Yeah, the taxes
How do
is
you?
not your income. The messenger says this. It's not your income, so you can take out the taxes.
Yeah, like when you get paid as a salary, you don't pay taxes on the amount that gets deducted for your taxes. Right? The same way if you're working as a contractor, um, you don't have to pay zakat on the amount that's going to go to taxes because that's not even because he says that the 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 law about the charity is that any money that goes into your pocket and it's yours to keep, that's the money that you're giving charity to. So money
That makes sense.
that's just passing your wallet and going straight to IRS, it's not your money, right? But but you can apply, for example, to your rent and say, well, rent is not my money; it's going to go to my landlord.
Oh no, yeah, because that's yeah, no, that's already an expense. We're talking about income.
Or if you have loans, right? If you need to pay someone his money back, like what I hear most of the times is he say, "Yeah, I don't have to pay the charity because I still need to pay my debts. I have a lot of debts, you know." But we learn from the messenger that first you pay the charity zakat, and from what is left, from that money you can start paying your debts. Because otherwise, you have like a lot of people who are very rich. They have a lot of money, but if you look at their accounts, you can see that they have more debt than they have income, or they have like buildings or houses, like a lot of materialistic things. Um, then they can say, "Oh, I still have a debt." Then I don't have to pay it. So it doesn't work like that. And one of the other things with tax is like I need to, yeah, I must say that when you are a contractor or you have a company, it can be sometimes difficult to calculate the tax because most of the times uh, the exact tax that you need to pay, actually almost in the end of the year. So, like when I do my charity zakat, I can't refer to that. It's very difficult. So then, when any money comes in, then I pay at least 2.5% of that, and in the end of the year, you pay the taxes even. But it's like not always very easy to calculate the exact amount of tax that you need to pay
Yeah.
and
Plus,
reduce that.
plus, if you work as a contractor, you're not really paying too much in taxes anyway. So, is you're better off just
Your income tax,
working
right?
right. Yeah.
I
Yeah, so just try to, either estimate it to like the lowest number. So like if you end up paying more taxes, I mean, you should just give more charity. I hope I'm not confusing people, but yeah, basically the idea is what I
Suleiman, your mic is
oh
off. Yeah,
sorry
again.
sorry. So I was saying that if you're a business person or a contractor where you don't know how much taxes you're going to end up paying at the end, then let's say if your approximate taxes are like 10% every year of your income, so you can maybe just you know um, assume a lower number. Let's say, okay, my taxes are going to be like, I don't know, 5% or 6%. But the thing is, what I do to be on the safe side, I just whatever I get, I just pay it. So whatever. I mean, I don't even factor in the taxes because, like you said, you don't know how much you're going to end up owing at the end. Sometimes, people owe little, sometimes they owe more, and you're never going to know exactly unless you're like a salaried employee where the taxes are already taken out. But, you know,
Yeah, it's very difficult to calculate because it's
yeah,
been calculated for a whole year. End of the
yeah,
year, you're looking at, okay, what is it that I
yeah.
earned?
But that's up to you. I mean, if you can pay on everything, I mean, it's just going to count towards an extra charity, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, actually, I don't calculate it. I just when money comes, you pay it, and then in the end of the year, Like most of the times you pay eventually more tax, you know, than you probably have calculated it, because it's all, like almost it's more than it is. But in any case, the more charity you can give, the better it is, right?
Yeah.
Unless it's I don't know, unless you have very difficulties in your life and you really need to calculate it, right? I don't know how that works, that you really like
It would be difficult, but
2.5 but not more. I don't
yeah,
know.
but even then, normally businesses, they know, like, I don't know, in the US, like, usually it's like 10%, you know? Like, for example, people make estimated payments and stuff. They know, you know, kind of roughly, what they would end up owing for taxes. So it's not like it's impossible, but, it's difficult.
Yeah, the thing is that, you know, when you do business, sometimes you have good business, right? Like this say you have a good business, but next month maybe it's going to be less, so you have more things to pay that month from the profit you have made, let's say. So it's a little
Yeah.
bit, yeah. I
Yeah, and
think
then
it,
obviously, other factors come in, like your deductions and all those things, and the tax laws can change every year, and so there's a lot of unknowns until you actually end up paying the taxes. You don't know how much you're gonna end up owing at the end, so it's difficult. Yeah.
yeah. And here, for example, in the Netherlands, like it works like five, it comes 5 year behind, because there are not a lot of tax workers in the government, let's say, and there's a lot of paperwork, a lot of calculations that needs to be done. So most of the times you can receive a letter from the government, oh, you need to pay like this amount of tax for the year 2017. You know, I still get like
Yeah,
letters like that.
yeah, yeah. Of course, yeah. Same here. Yeah, it's the same.
Yeah, right. So
Yeah,
just put your trust in God. I think that would be
yeah,
the best thing to say. Put your
yeah.
trust in God, and then He will guide you and He will help you to find a way.
Sure.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, so yeah, about the zakat for the business one, what I understand, I don't know my understanding is correct. So, example, if I have a business, so and based on the last information, say I had the profit net income, right? The net income was after the tax, all the deduction, so 50,000, the profit. So out of 50,000, so I can make it 2.5%, the minimum one. So it will come say $1,250. So I can pay like divide by multiply by 12, then so per month maybe $105. So I can pay $150, $120, a little bit more, based on the last year income and estimated for the current year income. So that's I do actually basically I pay the every month that like estimated one, based on the last year the net income. If you have a business that like 100,000, I calculate for the net, not the gross income. We have to take we have the financial expenses, business expenses. So we have to deduct the business expenses, taxes. So, and based on the net income, so we can calculate 2.5% minimum one. So divide by 12, so we can pay monthly. So that's my understanding.
Wait, you're saying you give charity based on what you made last year?
No, no, no. No, like this estimated income for this current year. Say example,
That's
2000
your
profit.
charity. You calculate your charity based on your. So what if you made less last year and this year
No,
you're doing?
no, yes, yes. So say example, last year I made like 50,000 net income.
Uh-huh.
So and this year will be that amount a little bit more. So I can make it like say it will be like say 50 or 60,000.
Yeah, but
Because
still
I
you're
don't know how
guessing.
much will be income, this year. I don't know how much exactly will be net income. After the end of the year, we will know that how much, because most of the business, they calculate the business income end of the year, right?
Right, right, right.
Yeah, so how can I pay the charity, because I don't know actually how much. So I can estimate based on the last year income, I can estimate, that's how we are paying the estimated
Right.
taxes
But
and
then
all
at
this.
the end you're gonna know if you paid less,
$110. So we can pay a little extra, $120, $30 instead of paying $110 by chance. If,
Like retail business?
what about the business? If we have the restaurant business,
I'm saying, what kind of business are you talking about? Is it like a retail business or what?
any business. Say you have the restaurant business, so you will get the net profit end of the year.
Hmm. Yeah, but you're also going to know exactly how much sales you made in that month, right? Like if you're talking about restaurant,
Mhm.
you know, like your percentage roughly, how much is your percentage that you're going to pay in taxes. So still then, you don't have to go by your previous year. I mean, like you can go by that month or that week when you're paying also, you know.
The
I mean,
going
I'm
the
saying there's more than one
previous year,
way.
that means for the
There's more than
estimated,
yeah,
for the estimated income, so we
yeah,
can estimate the income
yeah,
based on the previous years. That's
yeah.
what I'm asking.
I'm saying there's more than one ways to
Mm,
estimate, right? You can estimate based on the previous year and
mm,
divide it by 12, or you can estimate it based on your last month and give, right? So
mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, so for
Assalamu
the safe
alaikum.
side, we can pay
Can
more
y'all hear
money.
me?
That's not.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, we can hear you now, John.
Okay, yeah, it's not an innovation to pay on gross income because that's kind of what I've been doing just to keep things easier.
Yeah.
Just so I don't, it's just not an innovation if we just choose to do that.
No, you
Uh,
can. You're just giving extra then, right?
okay,
Over.
mashallah. Yeah, I just did that because it makes things just easier, and then plus, right, you give extra, mashallah.
Yeah, Masha, that's exactly what I do too. You just. But with some kind of businesses, it's difficult for people to do that because it gets very complicated be- depending on how much
Right.
money you out. Right? And
Yeah, I mean, especially if you have operating costs and stuff, which I don't take that into account either, just because they could change, throughout the month, kind of like you were saying.
all right, there any other comments or questions from anyone?
Yeah, yeah, I have a question, brother, about the gene and human again. So,
Uh,
the gene, the souls of genes, so they are attached with our body, some way. So we know that gene, they have also the body that are made of fire. So their soul is with us, like our soul, in somewhere, some way they are attached with us. So I mean, so what about their body? So they are also, their body also like parallel to us, with us somewhere. That's,
n- well, no. So the jinns. So when they don't have bodies, first of all, I mean they're a jinn is like how you have a soul. So your soul is one thing and the jinn is one thing, right? So
mm-hmm,
and then there's the body. So there's three things. There's the body, there's the human soul, and then there's a jinn soul. So three things. So the jinns and the
Jinn
humans share
soul.
one body. It's not like jinn has one body and then human has one body. The human and the jinn stay in one body.
oh, in one body. Oh, the gene soul.
When God says God created the jinns of fire,
Mm-hmm,
it's talking about the jinn itself. It's not talking about the body. The human body was made from clay, right?
mm-hmm.
But not the human soul is not made from clay. Its
Oh,
soul was breathed by God. We're part of God. That's
mm-hmm.
yeah. So that's why
Oh,
our souls are nourished when we remember God.
oh, okay. So the gene souls and the gene body, actually the one entity for the gene one.
The jinns and the humans share one body.
In one body. Mm-hmm. Okay, the souls of okay, okay, yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's I want to clarify.
Brother Nizam, why do you want to know where the jinn's body is? Is there a reason?
Yeah, yeah, it's my curiosity. I was thinking that where is that body?
Yeah, so they also, besides that, they also like the, if someone becomes a doctor, let's say, right, his expertise is in something, the jinn companion also becomes, will have the same expertise and knowledge of that human being. So if you're a bricklayer, then the jinn companion, he will have knowledge of that one as well.
Mhm. Yeah, if you go to Hawaii, your jinn is also going to go to Hawaii with you. So,
Yeah.
right?
And enjoy the sun.
Yes.
But we're to strive to get the jinn to accept the perspective of worshiping God alone.
What?
We are to strive to get the jinn to accept the perspective of worshiping God alone.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, because otherwise the jinn is going to convince you to be like him. Alright. So I guess if there are no other comments or questions, God willing, we can conclude. Yes. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Brother Jaffer, for leading the study and taking care of this. It's not easy. Um, and thank you all for participating, mashallah, and being on the study.